Greebos, and welcome to the Orc Fort Podcast. I'm your host, Xu'rek, and today I have the pleasure to bring on my immediate boss, the warchief himself, Mr. Zut'lug. Zut and I discussed the nature of the clan, sort of his history with UO, and our shared vision for Bloodrock moving forward. So, grab your bottle of grog, sharpen that blood axe, and make your way inside the Orc Fort. Catch a seat next to the campfire and enjoy today's episode. All right, Zut'lug, welcome to the Orc Fort Podcast, man. How's it going?
Greebos, Xu'rek. It's good. It's finally good to sit and chat between the two leaders of the Bloodrock Clan.
Yeah, finally, man. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I always think about UO. For me, it like brings me back to my childhood, but then it's like, shit, I remember, man, I used to play this game like 16 hours straight. You know, it's a little easier to run a clan when everyone's online 24/7.
And you don't have kids that you have to put to
yeah,
bed.
You know, those things called kids, man, they kind of do get in the way a little bit, but you know, it's funny because we used to, you know, everyone who's been on talks about it. We used to just get on and just go to it. You know, there was no real planning, no fucking Discord calendar events, none of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was very little chat in game at the beginning with guild chat.
Yeah. Well, Zud, I gave you a short introduction to who you are, but I want to give you a chance to formally introduce yourself to the listeners. Give us a little bit about your background, who you are, and a little bit about your background with Ultima Online.
Well, I started in probably 99 on Siege Perilous. At that time, when Siege opened, it already had the second age, because I don't think it was open before that. So I immediately found myself in Delucia and started mining. I felt like that was a way of getting started, and from there I joined a trade guild and eventually became an orc under a small orc clan called the Gouged Eye Orcs, which I honestly don't even know how they got their name.
What a name, though. Gouged Eye Orcs. Holy shit. Were they all blind or what?
No, they weren't. But if you notice, when I brought Tugert here, which is my Majoka, he was actually my Gouged Eye character on Siege Perilous. So I dragged him through a portal to this server. And in order to do that, he had to gouge out his eye. So he only has one eye in this game.
Oh, okay. You know, the trade. When you say the trade guild, I mean, I played probably in the I didn't start really playing UO until like 2002, so I missed the early days. Well, I mean, trade guild is what I imagine, just a bunch of resource gatherers and shit like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love. There's no secret that I love mining because I'm always mining in this game, and that's what I really, really love to do back on Siege Perilous, and it was how I made my money. And yeah, we didn't do a whole lot of PvP. We did not do a whole lot of PVM. We had houses that we sold stuff on vendors. We met, and I don't know if you'd call it RP. It was mostly, you know, we all knew each other by kind of our first names, and it was a lot more personal guild, I guess, because they were our age. I was playing with people who are our age now,
which is a little weird if you think about it, right? Like, I mean, as a kid, but that's the beauty of Ultima, especially pre-voice chat, because pre-voice chat, now when you hop on Discord, because sometimes, you know, you play with a person. I know you know this, right? You play with a person and you're sort of impressed with who they are a little bit in game. Then you get on voice and it's like, hi, motherfuckers, and it's like, oh, god damn it, you know, just ruined. I had this vision of you, bro, of like this honorable knight guy, and you just kind of blew it all.
Absolutely, yeah.
But trade, I mean, I remember when I first played, I think that's one of the things that really drew me into Ultima is like, I think one of the first things I did was get a packed horse and just went mining. I think there's something about being able to do that in an open world like UO that's just captivating as hell. You know what I mean? Like you more than me probably, because you still do it. Obviously, you love mining and resource gathering, but even from an early perspective, for me, I was like, bro, this is sick. I'm actually out here in the wilderness with the fucking horse, right, with the pickaxe, and I'm gathering these resources. There's something insanely attractive about that.
It's very zen. I like to listen to music, and even back then, I would listen to music and just mine or chop wood, and it's just super relaxing. I think uh, I've also, and nowadays, now that I have a laptop, I can mine and I can watch something on Netflix while I'm doing it, which is pretty great.
So those are the early days before Zut'lug was Zut'lug, or your gouged eye orc. You were a resource gatherer, and then you came across the orcs. But let me ask you this: and I asked everyone this, when did you first hear the words Ultima Online? What I mean, surely you remember. Everyone remembers when they first heard the words or first learned of the game. What was your kind of story there?
Okay, I've been waiting for this question. It was in high school, and it was because of a girl. She was playing Ultima Online, and I wanted to play because she was playing.
You may be the only UO player that can say that it was a girl that sold them on Ultima Online. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. That's crazy. So she was a player. She was hooked, and what? She just, hey, want to take a hit of this kind of moment.
She was, yeah, she actually was a role player on Catskills, and I have no idea what her character was. It was not that in depth of an infatuation. Um, and, but yeah, I was over at her house and she was playing this game, and I thought it was super cool. It was a fantasy game. And, you could pick any kind of character to play. It was super unique, I thought, and it looked fun. And I wanted to be her friend. So I started playing it. We didn't interact in game pretty much at all after that. I started playing completely by myself after that. I made one character on Catskills, and then I think I moved on to Siege Perilous pretty quick because I heard it was the challenging server. I don't know why that appealed to me at the time. I don't know what led to that decision, but I went to Siege Perilous.
Okay, so well, I mean, man, shout outs to her, whoever your high school friend was, right? We might not have Zut'lug if it wasn't for her, so shout outs to her, man. The new warchief is here. You made warchief now, so that's one of those things where it's like, we got to give credit where it's due, so appreciate her. I have a similar story where it was my a friend from school who just happened to have the CD, and they had, I guess, the book or some shit or whatever, and they showed it to me, and I didn't really believe it was real at first. This is like pre-internet for me, so I was like, it can't be a world where you do this shit. You know what I mean? There's just no way you can do it. So it's kind of crazy how we all have that story.
Right, and I think Grizzlock told a similar story about his first experience. My first experience logging onto the game by myself and playing it was immediately getting PK'd. Someone invited me into their 8x8 house and blocked me behind some tables.
Oh, no.
And killed me immediately. So that was pretty much within the first hour of playing the game that happened. But it didn't stop me. I went on to make a mining character and on Siege Perilous, and eventually an orc. And then I stopped playing in 2001. I sold a house on eBay on Siege Perilous, and then stopped playing.
You were one of the eBay posters, bro? That actually worked out for you?
It was a house within the Luna walls. It was my vendor house. The house that was like an 18 by 18 right next to it sold for like $1,000. And I was like, I was in college at the time, and I was like, I think I need that money. So I sold it for $150.
$1,000 for a house in UO? Holy hell, that's crazy. 150 isn't too bad though. That's pretty dang good, man.
Yeah, I felt like that was a pretty good deal. Yeah, the that 18 by 18 was sold to a well-known PvP PK guild, I think, and they would just terrorize Luna right next to the Moon Gate from that house. Don't even think they built too much on it for like a couple months.
That's why it was just so a place to log in and kill
like
noobs.
$1,000 for this. I think I can make some money here.
God. Okay, so I asked Nee this and everyone else this. When did you come across your first orc in game? Because that's another thing I think we all sort of remember, not specifically the name of the orc, but the nature of the encounter, if you will.
It was. I definitely recollect it being around the U Gate. There was a one of our vendor houses there for the Delucia Trade Association was pretty close to the U Gate, and I have the feeling that they came up through there from the U Fort somewhat often. They were Shadow Clan. They were all stealthers. Shadow Clan was huge on Siege Perilous. You could tell they were big because they warred everyone on the server, and their name showed up on the Stratic site or the UO site of having on Siege Perilous the most wars. DTA was on there too, Delucia Trade Association, because we had a lot of members. But you knew the orcs were there because of that. And we would visit the U Orc Fort every so often because our GM would sell them rares, I think, orc rares, because she was like the broker for the server. But I never interacted with them. I wanted to make an orc and join Shadow Clan, but that didn't end up working out because it was at the time it was too weird for me. I guess I hate to admit that, but I didn't get it. I really didn't get it. And
you're like, these guys are fucking weird. They're like pretending to be orcs, like that kind of thought, or like it just didn't appeal to you, or because you weren't really role playing at the time at all, then, right?
No, absolutely not. And so I think I expected them to talk in English, and they weren't. And so
you're like, speak English, goddammit.
No, I was trying to go with it. I remember trying to go with it, but I really didn't get it. And eventually, when I joined Gaojai, I had been on the Shadow Clan website and like printed off their orc language, so that I could read it. Something very similar happened when I joined Bloodrock here, but so that I could look at it and try to learn the language, because I knew that was where I was having a problem.
And so you pick it up, you join Gaojai. That must have been a small clan, though, right? I don't think I've met another person from Gaojai yet.
No, I sent Zut'lug screens of all the characters in it, and he was like, he didn't recollect anyone from the guild, and I don't know where they went or what their like main characters were on the server. It's a complete blank for me. Most of that experience.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, to the listener, Zut'lug is our in-house orc professor historian. Is that fair to say? I mean, he's certainly the orc historian.
Yeah, we really rely on him for research, really, because he's found tons of orcs. He's found information on tons of orcs, and we really rely on that for that history, because there's a large part of it that I'm not aware of. I need to hear it. That's what's great about this podcast too, being able to hear those stories from all the elders from all of our separate experience, since we're one clan.
Yeah, we're one clan now, and it's really cool because even like in the YouTube comments, and we don't get a lot, so really of the 10 that I get or whatever per video that I post for the podcast, there'll be you get every now and then a couple comments that are like, oh, I used to play back in the day or whatever. So it's definitely we're scattered all over the place. I think let me ask you this: how many people do you think have been an orc ever in UO in one of the clans? It's got to be what, 500 plus? You think ever tried it? Ever made a character?
Ever tried it? It's got to be more than that. It's got to be 5,000.
5,000? You think?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah. I mean, because if you think about it, we're probably just the known members. Bloodrock, we're in the hundreds ourselves, actually. So let me take, that we can probably recognize the name. So yeah, that I've ever been an orc ever. Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm probably like 2,000. I think 3,000. That's crazy though. Yeah. It's crazy to think about. There's a lot of folks out there that became one, and if you add people that have RP'd or have fond memories of orcs during their playtime, it's probably 10,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and people might have tried it. And there were, I mean, you look at those pictures that they post of old Bloodrock or Shadow Clan, there's tons of orcs there. And
Yeah.
that's just an instantaneous count of their members. And that went on for years. And it's been going on for years and years. Bloodrock has continued the tradition for 20 years now.
Yeah, it's kind of an, I mean, if you our guild statue, hell, in our guild, in our fucking fort, I mean, 1998, that's a crazy number, man. That's just, I'm very proud of that number, even though I wasn't a member at the time. I'm very proud of that because there's very few things in gaming that are player made that make it this long. It truly is a rarity, like, that's why, like, and when you think about other games, I mean, I can't think of another, like, I'm sure there's probably a WoW guild out there that's lasted this long, but with the numbers we have and the uniqueness of what we are, I don't know if it's very common, man. We might be one of the few ones.
Yeah, I really feel like we reach back to the traditions of that age, just in our storytelling and the. I mean, people call us on the server hardcore RPers. We have a strict set of guidelines that you have to follow. You can't speak English. You have to learn the language. Like I did. It was a struggle. But over time, you get it. It's part of the fun of being an orc and learning to be an orc. I love how we do it now as a sort of introductory rank with the Snotling. You don't expect your young orcs to get it right all the time. And they probably won't. You allow that, and they get better, and they learn.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, it's no secret. The Snotling role to me is the best thing we've done. I think it's in terms of like we've legit created. I mean, this could be in a video game. You know what I mean? Like if they created a video game about orcs, like a Snotling role, a Snotling character would be perfect. So the fact that we created it organically amongst us as a class, it personifies a brand new orc perfectly, right? They come in, they're weak as hell, they don't know the language, they don't know what's going on, they're going to break the rules because they don't know them, when in fact, in real life, they don't know them. You know what I mean? So it fits perfectly. So it's no secret that I'm a big fan of the role. But yeah, I agree, man. Our setup is great now. Our setup is great here, and it's amazing to do these podcasts because we hear, people from, there's orcs that played in the EU servers, right? There's orcs that played in Free Shards or now Gouged Eye Orcs. I never even heard of that damn clan. Now I know of it. So different backgrounds, different kind of experiences, but we are here now on Outlands as one, right? We are here as one, and I love it, man. It's Isehai. That's our kind of our saying. So.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that, and collecting us all here to continue on the tradition of playing orcs. We do it in the Bloodrock style, which has developed over that 20 years. We've got an awesome story, awesome language. What was I know we're going to get into what was my experience joining Bloodrock here. What was your experience of being a Snotling? Because I'm thinking about when I landed here as a Snotling.
Man. Yeah, that's a good one. So I think I started playing. I mean, my Discord I think is like 3 years old, and I only created it to play with Bloodrock. I don't use it for anything else. So, I think I started in 2022, somewhere around, maybe it was late 2021, something like that. And I remember I've always had the itch since I played. Man, I played. My biggest problem and why I didn't play in the early days a lot is because I split my time with orking, and I had a small guild that was just me and my immediate brothers. All of us were in the guild. It was the Green Lantern Guild. I just named it after I saw the commercial for the fucking whatever. So the comic book character, the Green Lantern. So we were the Green Lantern. We were all green, bro. We walked around with a Green Lantern, and that was like our thing. There was no RP there beyond the superficial stuff. So I split my time 75% with my brothers, 25% as a peon it would be at that time. And then, so that was back in the day. When it comes to Outlands, between playing from 2002 to 2004 or 5, or maybe it was 01 to 2004, some shit like that. When I stopped playing for those 20 years almost, if you will, 18 years, it always something that stuck with me, you know. Or and then I played WoW, so I would try to find RP communities there. It really failed, but every time I saw things like Lord of the Rings, it always, when I saw the orcs, man, something just, it hit me in my soul, dude. You know what I mean? Like I would remember the fort defense days. I would remember these special characters that were like, they weren't almost real. Like there was this guy, they called him the Butcher, and he would fight with a cleaver, bro. And I never forget him. Even my brothers who didn't RP as orcs, they remember the Butcher because I would show him, like, when if we would go out fighting or whatever, humans, I would show them content. This motherfucker would just whacking away, and he had a mount, so he was special. You know, back then only the true ones had mounts. So he had a mount and a butcher knife, and I think he wore an apron, and he was just a menace, dude. So that was my experience in the early days, and I just, man, it just hung on to me, dude. Orking was my shit forever. And then one day in 2021 or something like that, I find myself researching orc clans, UO, and I come across Bloodrock, and I see they're on this thing called Outlands. No idea what it is, never heard of it, don't even know how to download it, type shit. Eventually I download it, jump in Outlands, and I figure out where they're at based on the map, and I just run there. And I hang out there until I find someone, and then I join from there, and I become a Snotling, and the rest is history. I took the Snotling role pretty serious at first, but this is before the scar inflations. This was, I think I gained those scars pretty quickly. So my Snot experience was pretty quick, but it was fun, and I learned a ton. But I knew most of the language already, so as a previous orc, it was kind of a lot easier.
Yeah, that's true.
It was easy. Well, I picked it up, and then I saw what you guys were doing, and then I was like, how can I help here? What's a role I can fill in here eventually? So I started. I think I did my first orc. My first orc was just a straight up PvP generic orc, and then I went from there, dude. I did. The day I joined, we were fighting Path or Sir someone, and I was like, all right, these guys are still doing what I remember back in the day. And I made a vow, dude. The first event I did, I saw Nerul and some of the other orcs, and I remember Nerul's name from back in the day. And I was like, okay, one of my biggest regrets in my life, dude. And that sounds corny to a listener who's not a UO player. You know what I'm saying? Is that like, it sounds corny, and of course I have bigger things. I have 2 children. I'm married and all these things. But one of those regrets, personally, was not dedicating more of an effort to something that I love so much, like orking at the time. Being a part of Bloodrock back in the day. So when I saw that we still had a following here, I was like, all right, I'm committed. This is my redemption. At very few times we have a chance to actually redeem these regrets. So I was like, fuck it. I had a regret. I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna carve out a little piece of Bloodrock history and make it Xu'rek, and that's what I've done since then.
Nice. I have a pretty similar experience. I had a 20-year gap from playing Ultima Online as well, from playing in the Trade Association and on with the Gouge Eyes. I specifically searched for orc roleplay on Ultima Online too. I had remembered enjoying that, and that's what drew me to Outlands. I didn't come to Outlands to play Ultima Online again. I really wanted to roleplay an orc. I had been playing World of Warcraft for 10 years. I had been a guild leader and a raid leader there, and very successful. I was very happy with that time, but I wanted to come back and play something that I had more life to it. I remember Ultima Online having, I don't know, a depth to it that World of Warcraft was a fun game, but it was, it was like an easy dopamine release. And Ultima Online, you could really make things for yourself, and that appealed to me. And I'm happy to arrive on Outlands, playing the game, loading it and playing for the first time. And I had made an orc because I found the Discord from a Reddit post, and then found Outlands from there. And
What year did you join though? You was
It was 2022. It was May May 2022,
I might
and
be I might be either late 2022 then or early 2023. I think I
it
don't know.
was it was during the slow time for Bloodrock. I think, though I didn't know it at the time, they had gone through a major turmoil, a split in the guild, and there were a lot less people. And there was, I think I was the only new orc in quite a while, and I had arrived just after Grurang had had come back, and I remember him getting to peon and getting to grunt like when I just became a snotling and I just became a peon. But there weren't a whole lot of people. I had to do a lot of things myself at the time. You know, when you have those slow parts of the year.
Yeah,
But
yeah, the downtimes.
but yeah, what got me started, and I think what got you started too, is eventually someone had to tell you to be like, you're like, I want more, and they tell you, and it was Omeg for me, who told me that I should make events for myself, make your own story, do, I think Bar Talk was also very encouraging then too. So that's when I did start making my own events and start telling my own stories, and that eventually led to me becoming goth. Um, uh, when does step down
That's a
was
big
that I
thing though.
was
So that's a
yeah
big and I preach that all the time, man. Like I'm self-proclaimed pacifist and a uniter. That's generally my nature. That's just generally how I am. But one thing I hate, and I'll say this out loud, I hate people who just like think these things just spawn out of. It's just mana that falls from the sky and just creates things. You know what I mean? Like it's the Discord folks that'll complain about, someone might run an event and then they'll be like, "Oh, that's great, but can you do it 2 hours earlier next time?" Or what? It's just, or that's great, but what about these types of events? Why don't you consider doing it? And I'm like, motherfucker, do it yourself. Like this is a true sandbox, and in every sense of the word from a gaming standpoint that we can kind of think of. So
yeah
there's nothing stopping you from doing absolutely anything in this game. It's the only thing stopping you is your imagination and your willpower to do so.
right, and do it in your own way. I try to encourage people to, if it's not working for you in game, write a story. Try different parts of the game and make them orky, like even our boss nights, which are very like there's no talking, there's more Discord chat than there is in game chat. While you're sitting and waiting, there's plenty of chance to RP in
Yeah,
in those situations.
yeah. We for
But
the
you've got to
listener,
make it.
yeah, you got to. It's whatever you make it. And for the listener, we have an alliance where our biggest allies are the brigand out, which are kind of like Celtic outlaws, and Vile, which is a group of evil creatures, vampires, ratmen, and the like. And when we do our boss nights and we're waiting in between bosses or something, and it's very sterile from a roleplay standpoint, I'll walk around and just like challenge people to a drink contest and like push them and like attack people randomly. Just obviously not to disrupt the purpose of the boss night, but to be orcs, bro. You do your own thing. And another thing that you mentioned is like the influence that we have from someone like Omeg. And for the listener, Omeg is an elder, meaning he's been literally grandfathered in, right? He's been so old and playing for so long that he's just like he achieved the elder rank. And in our society that means something, and these people are meant to sort of guide the new players like me and Zut relative to them. And I think they do a great job of doing just exactly what you said, Zut, because I had a similar experience. I was a little bit kind of whiny, and I was like, "Well, this and I think it might have been Omeg who was like, "Well, then do it, just do it." And I think that's where leadership starts to kind of break off from the average player, if you will, because we kind of take that advice and run with it.
Absolutely. And you have done so many events with a lot of great, unique stories. Um, I really look forward to those, and I hope more people will participate in that sort of activity because I love hearing and being a part of everyone else's stories and in the orcs and in our allies. And that's why right now we've got that big Reaver quest line going on. I'm really enjoying hearing everyone's stories about their ship, something that we also is kind of a struggle to RP out on the ocean. You can't really, you have to shout at each other, to the other boat
Yeah.
in order to even interact or talk. Otherwise it's in party chat, and that's not really, it doesn't
Well,
really
you know what?
feel like
Let's take a moment. Let's take a moment to chat about that, if you don't mind, because I think what you did with that is brilliant. Now, for the listener, and we would have discussed this in a previous episode, so I encourage you to check out the episode with me and Xu'rek where we break down the ranks. But basically, we have three primary ranks. The first one is a snotling, which is the bucket helmet wearing dumb. Sorry, excuse for an orc. That's the entry level one that we role play. Then we have a peon, which is kind of they're big, but they're bigger and they're stronger, but they're still dumb. And then we have grunt, which is our core rank, right? These are our grunts are solidified members, and above that is kind of leadership roles. But we also have sort of role play roles that grunts can participate in, that they can transition to, if you will. We have brutes, which are shield wearing, kind of thick skulled, wielding orcs, frontline orcs, if you will. These are the brutes. We have my class, which is the howlers, which is our animal tamers, things like that. And Zut, one of the problems we had, and one of the, if we kind of take a step back and look at it from a macro standpoint, one of the bigger problems we have is how do we navigate this world of Outlands and its mechanics as orcs, as role players, really, but specific for us as orcs. How do we justify roleplay wise orcs being a part of a boating alliance? You know what I'm saying? So these are the issues that we had, and you and I had these conversations in private, where this is really what it takes to exist in Outlands now. I think as a roleplay guild is being able to navigate the space between these two things. And the Orc Reaver class is something you came up with, which is, I think, a brilliant solution. And so for the listener, can you explain, how did that come about for you on your side, and what is an Orc Reaver? What are we doing to kind of justify it from a roleplay standpoint? And, if you don't mind generally speaking on that.
Absolutely. I mean, the oceans are a big issue on Outlands right now. It's clearly where most people can make lots of money. They're very well protected. Lots and lots of guilds are out on the ocean. It is a lawless area, so anyone can attack anyone. You can sink anyone's ship without, becoming a murderer or whatnot. So people protect that income, or they want to keep people from being a part of that. So the way that most people deal with that is joining a huge boating alliance, and they get protection, which is fine. But yeah, absolutely. How do you consider orcs to care about that? They're
Right.
orcs. They're gonna do it by themselves, and that's insinuating ourselves into the role playing community events and stuff like that. We kind of have to bend a little bit to participate or to care, because orcs aren't going to care about anything in town. They're not going to care about a library. They're not going to care about human issues like wanting protection. So, we have to often think of a way to make that work for our members, because they want to participate in this and they want to be able to invest and be successful. The role-playing community does have a ocean alliance, and I think we really felt that we wanted to participate in that so that we could participate in uplifting the role-playing community members if they wanted to play on the ocean. So yeah, we had to write how do we make orcs care about that. And the Reaver class was, we have orc Reavers on the ocean that you can battle as NPCs. So there are orc NPCs out there. We try and emulate NPCs on the server. So we'll go with that, and we'll be mercenaries. So the boating alliance that we work with on the role-playing with the role-playing community is paying the orc reavers for protection, and we'll go with that story. That makes it work. We can play with that. We can still fight our role-playing frenemies on land and have conflicts with them. They're not paying us for land protection. So, you know, we want to make it work because I want people to be able to participate in that. But, you know, we've had this conversation recently. I'm not going to bend over backwards to contort the orcs into a shape that works. We are orc role players first. So if it comes down to it, we won't participate in the alliances. We will go it alone. You know, we will take the hard road, and that's not something that most people in the community, in the Outlands community, do. They'll go to one of those big alliances to make it work, and we don't mind the challenge. And that's something that I've challenged myself with being an orc. I was not a PvP player in the original game. I would die a lot because I was a miner and a blacksmith. And I got used to it on Siege Perilous because it happened all the time. So playing on Outlands and playing an orc miner who dies all the time because I don't have tracking, that's fine. That wasn't making me upset. I'd go right back to it. But
I think, well, I think one of the things that is that you're spot on the money in that when it comes to what we do, when it comes to the Bloodrock way, the hard way is sort of hard coded in our DNA, right? I mean, if sure, yes, we're all orcs and we whatever, but I think underneath that, what's truly captivating us is we kind of like to play the game in a way that is handicapped, but we see the fun in that. You know what I mean?
We relish the challenge. I think we relish the challenge,
dude.
And we challenge each other,
right? And the builds that are like, you know, for example, for the listener, we don't use chivalry. Chivalry, if you are a Dex or PVM build in Outlands, you basically sort of poisoning and stuff. I know, but generally speaking, you're gonna have chivalry. We don't do it for RP reasons, and I find that fun. You know what I mean? We have to find unique ways to challenge the game. So we extend that to boating when it comes to putting our RP first. And I'm on board with you 100%. No pun intended, right? But I am on board because I think that's the way it works. Now, shout outs to our current Alliance guildmates and the people who ally with us, because I think they support our decision in that, and they appreciate the roleplay that we bring. And they are, you know, I don't want to say accommodating us because they're not changing much at all, but they do respect it and you know, and they appreciate it. So I think it's worked out for us so far pretty good. But yeah, we are recording this March 13th, 2025. And today they did announce that they are banning Mapper. So that is going to change the way boating works on Outlands, man. So I'm kind of curious to see what impact that's going to have.
Yeah, I think we were kind of talking about it in our own channel about hopefully that would break up the big guilds into smaller guilds so that they would be more, they would have to support each other on a smaller scale. We'll see. You know, I think we'd still probably do a lot of that on Discord or a forum.
Yeah, I think we'll see a little bit of the same, just probably not as impactful, and maybe that's enough to make the oceans more fun. But let me ask you this, and let me switch up the topic a bit here. So, for the listener, Zut'lug is the current warchief, or Clergoth, as we would say in Orcish, of the Bloodrock Clan, and that's a title you assumed not that long ago. What's it been? 2 months, maybe?
Yep.
2 months. Okay. Well, first of all, congrats, man. I want to formally, record my congratulations on this podcast, but you did appoint me as your second in command as the Goth, so I do appreciate that. And I think it's we got a big road, and we got some big shoes to fill. I think that's one of the first things. Talk to us about that experience, man. I mean, how long were you Goth? What was your Goth experience like? The role that I'm currently in, and now you've what I appreciate about you is that you said, hey, we've gone a certain way with the old warchief, or the old Clergoth. We're going a new way with me, which I love. Even a twist in the story, something new, So, give us a little bit of background, if you don't mind, about that experience overall.
Well, I mean, it is a huge honor to be the Clergoth of the Bloodrock Clan. We've had Clergoths years over years over years. Following Bartok, the last one, he was our, probably our best. He was one of our best role players. So that's been, daunting. How do you follow that up? And so, yeah, definitely, I plan on changing up the story a little bit. I like the analogy how he's Mufasa and I'm Scar. I think that's a pretty good one.
That's a great,
There's
yeah, that's a great one.
turn in the leadership here. Zut'lug has always been sort of a masochist or sadist, I should say, not a masochist, sadist. And so, the dark turn, I feel like was expected with him in charge. As Goth, I think I came in Goth pretty much under a similar condition that you made Captain. We were probably halfway through Grunt, and there was a void in leadership that needed someone to take charge of the story and make events and help guide the clan. We ended up going to the new Siege Perilous that we were there for like 5 or 6 months, experienced the old way of playing the game and playing in the U Fort, which was an awesome nostalgia trip. It didn't end up working for us, so we came back to Outlands. So we've undergone lots and lots of change, and over the years of the history of the Bloodrock Clan, I can't imagine that change has ever stopped. And I think it was important for every transition of leadership, and for Bartok in particular, is that it go to the hands of the people who are doing the work and that like doing the work and they're energized by it. That's
Right.
why we want to put those sorts of people in leadership, because they really push the ship and bring us to new places and new stories. And that's what we want to continue to do. We want to continue another 20 years of that. I think we joke, that Omeg's kids or someone is going to, be the future Clergoths of the clan,
No, dude, that's 100. Man, we've been around 25 years. What's 25 more? I mean, who was it? Grislock said that we'd be in some 3D world. No, I disagree. I think we'll be in the same fucking world, man. We're gonna be. I want to be a retiree, just as a. I probably wouldn't want to be in leadership, but just running events and stuff. I'm down, man. 25 more years.
Yeah, I want 25 more years of stories for sure. I want to see where this goes. I love that, and that's what we really. I think that's for both of us. I think we're a good pair. We kind of see the game in different spheres, and we have to change the clan in order to keep going. We want to keep our orcs invested in the game, in the story, right, in Bloodrock. And we do that with our events and our Discord and in-game, just protecting the fort and doing what we do.
Yeah,
but we hold it in our hands, and we want to carry that on to someone else, and so I think there's a lot of that's kind of heavy, but it's great. It's fun. I love steering the story, and I love where we're going right now. Zut'lug he made a prison. He imprisoned Steel from Pathfinders, one of their leaders. He's called on Xu'rek to build up the Howlers and a fighting force of orcs that tame beasts to use them. I felt like that was something that Xu'rek would really, really be great at leading that team of werewolves. And I like the image of that because it's sort of Lord of the Rings-y, which is kind of how I envision the orc.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going very much on a kind of Lord of the Rings sort of trip, and I appreciate it. But, I do also agree. I think we're a good team because one of the things I think although we do see the game differently from a specific standpoint, but from a general standpoint, I think we see the game the same in that we realize the value that we've taken as older individuals. I'm not going to call myself old, but as an older individual than when I first played the game 20 years ago, we see what I remember from the game has nothing to do with the house that I owned, the loot that I had, but the experiences that I shared with both the orcs and for myself personally with my brothers who were in a guild with us. The stupid shit we did together was way more valuable, and And so when I go to Outlands now as an older individual, that's what I pursue, because I know that I've already lived. This is my second lifetime. If you think about it, it's that we've kind of reincarnated ourselves. You know, if UO was a lifespan, and life's a simulation. I'm just kidding, right? But if UO is a lifespan, and we've lived that life once, we've reincarnated to another world, different map, so it looks a little different, but we've essentially started a second one, and we get to retain the memories from the first one. It's like, bro, I already know what I already know the stock market, right? I already know what's gonna win at the end. What wins is the memories and the fun and the events and doing the crazy shit that we do. So it's no shock that a lot of us go back on Outlands like you and me, and we elect to be orcs and try to push what we know to be valuable, right? Which is the adventure, the story, all the good stuff we know and love.
Absolutely. I think that, the main gameplay for our Ultima Online, we call Umi stuff, gold, get your aspect up, kill bosses, omnis, like we do that. We want to participate in that. But we, at the end of the day, we're RPing in the fort. That's what we really enjoy. And it can be just a day of that, and we're satisfied. We don't have to go and down a boss or even go out and kill humans. We just role playing in the fort is enough. It's satisfying, and it's great how that keeps us together. I want more of that. I want more stories, and adventures with the orcs.
Well, that's kind of where we're headed, and hopefully that's the future, man. Between you and me, I think that's where I see you as more of a. I always, and it's not to be bashful or whatever, but I always see myself as kind of like a like I see you and Bartog and some of the other role players as like real role players. I think you guys have the insight you provide into the stories that you create that sort of shift the narrative of what we do as a clan. To me, is like something I don't think I could do. My role is like I'm the day-to-day guy, kind of like that. But I think we're a good pair in that regard, and I think we can push it forward, man. And I think we have a solid group of orcs now that agree with us and that do value roleplay and that understand when we say, hey, no chivalry. I don't care how fucking, we don't care. The value it provides, the value of being true to ourselves is more than any buff or any stat that Outlands can give us. I mean, would you agree to that? I mean, that's got to be true across the board for all Bloodrock Orcs.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have been here this long if it wasn't for the membership keeping the idea of the orcs alive and keeping them true to some role-playing standards. Everyone agrees once you get to Grunt and you become a member of the guild, I don't know, it's just something really special. We have a great bunch of membership who all push the guild forward with the same love and passion. And it's remarkable, and we hope to keep that fire going. Right, we want to keep the stories going. We want to make it interesting. We've got to follow up Bartok's reign with something good to keep them. Yeah, but we're gonna do it. It's gonna. It might not end well for Zut'lug, but
no. And for the listener, what basically has happened is we've had a transition of power from, I don't know, a Julius Caesar type of figure in the orc world, and Bartog, our old warchief, and Zud has got some big shoes to fill, but has started off with a bang, I think, and I think you got the potential, man, and I'm right there with you. I'm the JD Vance to the Trump, the Kamala Harris to the Biden, so I'm right there, and I think we got the potential. I think we both see the game in the right way, man, and I think we're headed there. So I'm excited for what the future holds. I'm excited for the benefit that we can provide to the server. I think we are a huge plus to Outlands, and it's always fun to see people like both negative and positive comments about who we are, but it's like, oh, wait, you know who we are. We're doing something right? If you know we exist and you've engaged with us, then we are doing what we intend to do.
Yeah, I love seeing the positive responses to orcs on the Discord, or people enjoying our role play. We are different. as a Reds, I think most people get really scared when they see that character run up. They want to run away immediately. And then we try and talk to them. That's really all we want to do, is talk to them, and hopefully get them to give us tribute. But I love those sorts of interactions, especially with new Outlands players who might not have met the orcs yet. We get a lot of them in our area because it's a good mining location. It's close to Prevalia.
Yeah, they trek too far north, man. Like the old stories go, right? You go too far north, chase it, and you run into some orcs. But I never forget in Outlands, and I've seen it happen multiple times. But one time, one guy was like, "Oh, fucking orcs killed me, whatever, by the fort," and someone responded like, "But did you give tribute? did you drop gold? Did you offer anything?" Like clearly and this is where the standard that we have to uphold is the fact that enough people follow our rules internally and agree with the way we play the game, that we created a sense of identity in who we are and how we operate as orcs, that a random human on a random fucking Discord channel can be like, "Hey, but did you know that if you didn't attack them first, or if you didn't run away and you gave tribute and RP'd, they wouldn't have killed you?" I'm like, that's perfect, man. That's exactly what we're aiming for.
Yeah, we don't want to ruin their day. We want to enhance their day. If they run, we're gonna run with them.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we have to as orcs. We have to chase you, but we'd prefer some nice wine or some grog. Some shinies. Much better. Even some shoes. There's a few orcs with shoe fetishes, so you might get away with some shoe donations. But
yeah, if you have no gold, that's usually where we go. Take your shoes.
Yeah, we just eyeball the shoes. Well, Zed, I got a final question for you, man. I'm curious. I asked all my guests this. I'm curious what you're gonna say here. And for the listener, we haven't practiced this, so whatever he says, this is right off the top of his head. But if Luthien and Owen gave you the keys and the power to change anything you want about the game, what are the first couple of what's the main thing, or maybe a couple of other things that you're changing about Outlands that you think will be for the better?
I mean, just because we've been thinking about it right now, the oceans, it's too there's far too much control from top guilds. It needs to, I really wanted it to be on the sanctuary cycle, then anyone could participate, but that's too it's too difficult because they would have to turn the entire world into a sanctuary, so all wilderness, all ocean, so that wasn't possible. But I think just making there be less big guilds and more small guilds, I think you would foster a community that is more interesting. I love there's a lot of guilds now that are kind of RP light, and they're kind of fun to interact with as orcs, because they will, I can almost guarantee they'll participate. One of them is the AU guild. It's the golden something, but they're hoarders of knowledge, and they will RP, and they're very, very small guild.
Yeah, and I love those RP light or pseudo RP, because I love when they role play with you, and almost in a secondary way, they'll be like, "Oh, fucking orcs," or whatever. They're just, but they've acknowledged you as an orc. So the way I see it, they've already they're role playing a bit, right? Because they've acknowledged your role play. So I'll take that, and I think we spawn from there. Most recently, we've had not even the majority, but some GG folks who express an interest in role playing, and we role play with them, and I'll get DMs later from members that are like, "Hey, that was fun. What if we do this next time? What if maybe this or this or this, or maybe we can explore a little bit of this?" And I'm like, this is how we bring in new members, So maybe something like that is a solution. But boating, for me, the problem is that I think it's too far gone in the sense that, man, I'm with you, man. They got to do something, because, and they're doing something. They're banning Mapper, which is a huge step in that direction. So maybe that's what they need. Maybe they need to go further. I don't know, but I agree with you. Anything else? What else? I know you got something else in the back of your mind. Maybe something orc specific. What could we benefit from?
I mean, we talked about chivalry. If they changed chivalry into something else they had like an unholy version. I think we talked about that before. I think we would immediately benefit from that since we're mostly Dexters. But I don't even want to throw out that. I don't care if they change it, honestly, because again, yeah, we don't mind the challenge, and we'll keep doing what we do even without chivalry or without voting or without. We were super bored in the game 25 years ago, and we role played characters because we got to the end of what we did. That was the heart of and the fun and what we remember about the game. And so it doesn't need to be fixed, I guess, for us to have fun.
Yeah, dude, that's the perfect answer. We found the solution, and that's approaching the game as orcs. You know what I mean? And making it our own game and having a blast that way. That's what brought us all back. That's why we're here. So I agree 100%. But Zut, man, well, that wraps it up. I do appreciate you coming on, man. I thank you so much. I'm excited to see what the future holds, and hell, man, I'm excited to be a part of it. Thanks again for coming on, bud.
All right. Thank you, Xu'rek. Love these podcasts.
Yep, man. Googie.
Googie.